Oh my goodness, it is crazy to think that we are finally coming to the end of seemingly, honestly, it seems like the Sword and Shield set has just been going on forever. It feels that way, doesn't it? Even though there's not necessarily a whole lot of additional sets that we've had, there are a couple of additional sets in Sword and Shield, more so than what we had in previous blocks. But the timing, just with everything that's gone on, everything that we've been through over the past few years with the pandemic and everything going on in the world, it just never has seemed to end. And now finally, after the leaks came out for V-Star Universe, and we're going to go over Crown Zenith tomorrow. Crown Zenith is the last set that is coming out in the Sword and Shield block, and it's not even a full set. It's a specialty set. It's a holiday set. It's not even a main series set. So with Silver Tempest, we wrapped up all the main series sets, and then January 20th, we're going to get hit with probably, arguably, debatably, the best set in Sword and Shield in the holiday set, Crown Zenith. It looks absolutely phenomenal. All the leaks that came out, we're going to go over those tomorrow. We're going to go over the release schedule. We're going to go over the price per pack, what products you should be focusing on, allocations, things like that. We're going to go over all of it tomorrow. But I wanted to do something fun today, and I've seen a lot of people go over Sword and Shield and just kind of rip apart a whole lot of different sets, and I will be the first to admit, I have been frustrated a lot with pull rates. I've been frustrated with opening packs and opening the same dollar card over and over and over again, and I know that there is just a huge surplus of supply out there, so it's going to happen, and I understand the gripes that are out there, but I think that unjustifiably, some of these tier lists that are out there are incorrect when it comes to ranking the Sword and Shield set. Sword and Shield as a block, actually not too bad. Got better, I think, as this set, or as the generation went on. I think the additional addition of Trainer Gallery was absolutely fantastic. I think those gimmick cards that they kind of threw in with the Shiny Volt cards that they put in there, the Radiant cards that they put in there, the Amazing Rares that they had in there, those gimmick cards actually did fairly well. They didn't overdo anything. I think everything not too bad. And we're going to go over a tier list that I kind of created with some bias in it, where I kind of go over, I just love this card, so I think it deserves to be at this point because I think that this set deserves to be at this point in the rankings because I'm biased to this artwork. I think it's phenomenal, but mostly from a competitive standpoint. So when the set came out, what the set has contributed to the competitive scene, which drives a lot of value when it comes to the trading card game. So we're going to go on anything. This is the correct list. This is the correct Sword and Shield ranking. Don't you dare disagree with me, but if you do, you can leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I think this is going to be fun. So we're going to go through things, and first of all, we're just going to kind of go over set by set, not spending a whole lot of time, but going over set by set highlights that kind of contribute to where they are in the ranking, and then I've got the whole tier maker, the tier list at the end that we're going to go over fairly quickly here. So starting out with Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield actually not that bad. Huge benefits to the competitive play. Drizzile and Italian, especially that Drizzile that you see right up at the top there. That was a $4 common or uncommon for the majority of its time throughout. Now it's going to be rotating here come January, February, and the prices are already dropping like crazy. But this is the only uncommon card that really has kind of withstood the test of time as far as value goes, and it's done extremely well because of that Shady Dealings ability right there, and then being able to pair it up with just so many cards in the game. Drizzile, huge impact on Sword and Shield. At the beginning of Sword and Shield, Zacian V did a really good number on the competitive play. The Snorlax VMAX, not because of competitive play, but just look at the artwork. Look at how amazing that artwork is right there with Snorlax, with the entire land just kind of chilling there right on his big old belly. Super good. Lots of good staples in this deck, or in this set, like Cincino, like Evolution Incense, like Quick Ball. There's more as well, but these are kind of the ones that just stood out to me. Stonejourner VMAX has done a really good job in competitive play for consistent periods of time where it kind of came out of nowhere, surprised a lot of people at regionals. Marnie, the full art, has stayed relatively valuable for a very long time. A lot of people really enjoy that card. And then the Sableye V I just had to throw in there because look at that artwork. Sableye is such a great Pokemon, and the artwork on that card is just absolutely phenomenal. So when we look at the next set that came out, Rebel Clash, a lot of people call it Rebel Trash because they do not like it. I actually didn't mind Rebel Clash too much. It was very difficult to kind of complete a master set, but I remember opening up packs and kind of getting to a point where I was like, finally, like 1,200 packs it took me to complete a master set, which actually nowadays isn't bad at all because it's way worse right now. But Dragapult did a really good job right out of its infancy, right out of the gates. Dragapult VMAX did a really good job in competitive play. Same thing with Malamar VMAX has kind of shaken up the scene, shown up in random times to kind of disrupt the scene a little bit. Malamar VMAX has done a really good job in competitive play, at least for a consistent portion of time. And then you had some staple trainers, some cards that came in and kind of impact the meta. Capacious Bucket, obviously paired up with that Drizzile that we were talking about recently. Galarmind, Training Court, still a very, very popular uncommon stadium that sees a lot of competitive play. And Capture Energy, which at one point in time was selling for $4 or $5 a copy. Obviously, again, rotation is it's lingering, so it's coming. A lot of these uncommon cards have dropped significantly in price. And then that Ninetales V full art looks absolutely phenomenal. I love the Ninetales V. Not a whole lot of competitive play for Ninetales V, but a beautiful looking card. And then the Boss's Orders, full art Boss's Orders, obviously a staple in competitive play, but Boss's Orders as a full art has done an extremely good job in the space. If we look at Darkness Ablaze, this is not a set that I have been high on. If you've ever watched any of my pack breaks, this is probably my least favorite of the entire Sword and Shield block. Yeah, it's got the Charizard VMAX, and the great thing about Charizard VMAX, it actually has had a space in competitive play. There were decks that were formed around Charizard VMAX where it actually did well, day 2ing at specific regional events. Powerful Energy, probably the most important special energy right now in competitive play. Powerful Energy has done a really good job kind of coming out of nowhere over the past several months. So if you have any Powerful Energy kind of chilling around in your bulk, now might be the time to take those out because rotation is coming and those are going to be rotating out and prices are going to dip back down. Crobat V was supposed to be a really big staple in competitive play, never really came to fruition, still played, but not nearly to the point where it was going to. And Vikavolt V, starting to see a little bit more play now, especially once you had the resurgence of Palkia and how good Palkia has done with Lugia running around like crazy. Vikavolt V has seen a lot more play, but this is pretty much it from Darkness Ablaze. Like, honestly, I remember opening up a bunch of Darkness Ablaze, trying to pull out Charizard VMAXs, and that was pretty much it. It was selling for $100 right upon release, and then it crashed and burned like crazy and just kept going down. I remember just opening up packs and pulling the same full art supporter, and I was like, okay, another Kabu. This set really isn't for me. And Darkness Ablaze, probably my least favorite of the Sword and Shield block. If we look at Champion's Path, kind of the same thing. Not a whole lot in Champion's Path, and it's a specialty set, so there's not supposed to be a whole lot, but this one is definitely one of the specialty sets that we've had, especially when you compare it to some of the other ones out there like Hidden Fates, like Shining Legends even. We've got the full art shiny Charizard V, which is really cool, the Rotom Phone, which did well in competitive play, but outside of that, you got a really cool birthday cake, and that Alchemy VMAX, that looks really cool, but it's way cooler to pull the full art, or the regular VMAX, than it is to pull the Rainbow Rare. That's pretty much it in Champion's Path. Vivid Voltage, kind of the same thing, not a whole lot in Vivid Voltage. You do get some cool full art supporters. Vivid Voltage, it's a fun set to open because you're chasing this Rainbow Rare Pikachu VMAX, this Gigantamax, and that's cool, that's fun, but outside of that, what really is there in Vivid Voltage? You got Amazing Rares, but Amazing Rares ended up being 3 to 4 per box. Like, they ended up being pretty easy to pull, not too bad. So you've got Rayquaza, you've got the Raikou, you've got a lot of additional Rainbow Rares in the set, and the Rayquaza is really cool. A lot of the Amazing Rares are awesome, especially because you can pull them in that reverse hollow spot, which means you get a bang bang, a double banger in a pack, and then it's got some cool full art supporters. You got Bay, you've got Nessa, you've got Leon, but outside of that, Vivid Voltage, a lot left to be desired. So following up Darkness Ablaze, which already wasn't that great of a set, with a set like Vivid Voltage, where especially when Pokemon was kind of blowing up right at that time, right before we had Shining Fates, Vivid Voltage was in a situation where we just didn't have enough booster boxes out there to meet demand. It kind of left a lot to be desired, in my opinion. Then we've got Shining Fates, and Shining Fates sounded cool. It really sounded cool when it first was introduced, because you had the Charizard VMAX, you knew that there was going to be shiny cards like this Suicune here. These are the only two highlights, because outside of these two, there wasn't really a whole lot in Shining Fates that really made me like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. So different than Hidden Fates. So different because you're missing a lot of the evolutions, you're missing a lot of the OG cards. Like, why didn't we put in a shiny Blastoise? Why didn't we put in a shiny Venusaur? Why didn't we pay homage to some of the other cards that were left out of Hidden Fates? If we're going to continue doing something like Hidden Fates, there was just so much that got left on the table. Instead, we ended up printing a lot of newer Pokemon, which I understand. You want to give credit to the new Pokemon as well, but there's just so much left out. You could have continued doing Shiny Vault and just continued doing different gens as you went on, but there's just so much that got left out. So Shining Fates, not my favorite of the sets when it comes to the Sword and Shield block, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comment section down below. Battle Styles, I Wanted to Love because of Tyranitar V. I think that's one of the coolest alternate arts we've ever had. The Sleepy Tyranitar right there just looks so amazing, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot in battle styles. We had this new Single Strike and Rapid Strike gimmick that they tried to introduce to us from a competitive standpoint, but really nothing came to fruition when it came to battle styles, and it just seemed like it was the set that was everywhere. You had a bunch of battle styles booster packs all over the place. You had booster boxes. Booster boxes still, this is like the only set where you can still find booster boxes for $85, $90. Not a whole lot in this set, to be honest with you. I love the Empoleon. I love the Tyranitar. I think those alternate arts look really cool. This was really the introduction to a huge amount of alternate arts. There's a lot of additional alternate arts in the set. Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX did really well on the competitive scene, had a really long run, especially during that time frame when we didn't have in-person events. So the late night series and things like that were running on PTCGO. Rapid Strike Urshifu did a really good job, and then when events started coming back, Rapid Strike Urshifu still did pretty well in the scene, but now not as powerful as what it was because stronger decks have come into the format. Houndoom did pretty well for a while, and Stoutland V more so now than what it was back then. It's doing a lot better in competitive play, being played now as counters and things like that. So Stoutland V at least has a place in competitive play, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot of trainers in the set. This whole Rapid Strike, Single Strike just really didn't take off, unfortunately. If we look at Chilling Reign, lots of really cool alternate arts in the set, but outside of the alternate arts in the set, there's not a whole lot that wows me. Chilling Reign, a good set, a fun set. I would put it kind of in the middle of the road when it comes to the Sword and Shield block. You've got that gold Snorlax. You've got just some amazing alternate arts like the Galarian Moltres, like the Blaziken VMAX, like the Zeraora V. I just picked 3 of my favorite alternate arts. There's so many good ones in the set, but this set has over 100 ultra rares. This is the first time in Pokemon where they came out with a set and I was like, this is impossible to finish this master set. This is going to be impossible. This is going to break me trying to finish this master set because there's just way too much going on. And this was the first time where I really realized there's a problem with pull rates if they're going to be adding over 100 new ultra rares to a set. You did have cards like Path to the Peak, which came in huge during competitive play. A lot of competitive players probably pretty sick of it, ready for it to rotate. Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX has done a really good job in competitive play, and it will continue to do, has continued to do fairly well as a smaller line. Blissey V really shook up the scene, especially in Madison, where it came out of nowhere, really surprised a lot of people, did a lot of good things for competitive play. So Chilling Reign, not a bad set by any means, but not as good as some of the other ones that we're going to look at here, like Evolving Skies, which kind of just redefined what a set might need to look like in order to take off like absolute craziness. Evolving Skies, not a whole lot outside of Ultra Rares that really has done an amazing job in competitive formats. Galarian Moltres has done okay. Regieleki has done well ever since Astral Radiance has released because of the Regi's decks, but I just put a bunch of alternate arts in here because you just can't get enough of them. They're absolutely amazing. The Evolution line, when they announced that they were combining the Evolution line and then also with the Rayquaza, with the Towering set that came out in Japan, it was just like, holy buckets, this is absolutely crazy. The set is going to go nuts, and it has, to the point where it's selling for almost $300 a booster box right now, and the set is only a little over a year old. Definitely not out of the reprint window yet, but getting closer and closer to what you would expect for a set like this to be reprinted in. And then I put the gold Cresselia in there because it's Cresselia, and it looks like, who doesn't love Cresselia? It's an amazing looking Pokemon. Celebrations, much higher on my list, I think, than a lot of other people. I love the Celebration set. I think it's absolutely amazing. I don't care about the value in the set at all. I think that the throwbacks to all the original Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon that I was never able to pull, is absolutely amazing for the community, for collectors, for people to go out and just have fun cracking packs with their kids and opening cards, reminiscing days of when they were children opening packs. It's amazing. Opening up those big 3, opening up that birthday Pikachu, that Rocket Zapdos. That's one of my favorite artworks of all time. The Shiny Magikarp, the Umbreon Gold Star, which I never had the opportunity to open up a pop pack. So having the opportunity to open up a Celebrations pack it's wonderful. The Luxray, because I like to build retro decks, and the Luxray is just so great. Flying Pikachu VMAX, because it won NAIC, the Northern American International Championships. Mew came up huge in a lot of events, and now we just had the Latin American International Championships, where you had cards like Kyogre and Evital from Celebrations, just holo rares that really shook up the competitive scene. So Celebrations not getting nearly the amount of credit that I think it should. Celebrations, a great set. I think people are just sick of it because it brought a lot of animosity animosity amongst the community, and it was everywhere. Like, so many people had access to it, but they got mad because they ended up paying more than they should have for it. And Pokemon did a good job printing it and distributing it. So I think Celebrations is absolutely wonderful. It's just a smaller set. Fusion Strike, a cool set for some cards, but I would say probably about 80% of the set is just people get sick of pulling those cards over and over and over again. But if you look at Mew VMAX really shook up the competitive scene, did an amazing job. Same thing with Genesect. Battle VIP Pass, really the only trainer in the set that does phenomenal work. Espeon VMAX and Gengar VMAX, obviously those are just two of the alternate arts in the set, but they have just blown up in price and value because of the collectability aspect behind them. Espeon being the one that we didn't get in Evolving Skies. The artwork on it is absolutely incredible. Fusion Strike, a good set, not a great set, but not a bad set. Brilliant Stars, definitely one of the better sets in the Sword and Shield block. We had more Charizard. Everywhere is Charizard throughout Sword and Shield. That's the theme of Sword and Shield. I am ready to move on from the big fiery lizard, but we've got some in Crown Zenith, so we're not going to be done with them yet. But Charizard V, the alternate art, looks absolutely phenomenal. Really cool storyline with the Venusaur in there. Arceus V-Star, probably one of the most competitive cards that we have ever seen printed. Whimsicott V-Star coming into an international event and taking second place out of nowhere. Double Turbo Energy. I could have put Choice Belt in there as well, but a couple of staple trainers in the set that did really well. The reprint of Ultra Ball, which was huge, and then the introduction of the Trainer Gallery, which is basically like another alternate art subset that you get with much easier pull rates, which is absolutely fantastic. The Mimikyu VMAX, the Umbreon V, the Umbreon VMAX, and the Sylveon VMAX, the favorites of my own personal favorites in Brilliant Stars. I think it's fantastic. Astral Radiance, another good set in my opinion, undervalued in my opinion. The Machamp V, probably the best full alternate art V that we were given during the entire Sword and Shield block. So much going on, so wonderful. The storyline that goes through just looking at the artwork. You could spend an hour just gazing at the artwork of the Machamp V because there's so much detail. The Starmie V, really probably the best trainer gallery card we have had. The colors, the way that it pops the artwork and that, fantastic. Radiant Greninja, the only Radiant card outside of Radiant Charizard that has really made an impact in the competitive scene, but a lot of cards, those ancillary cards, the ones that are not ultra rares in Astral Radiance that have really done phenomenal work, like Deancey, like Miltank, like Regigigas, like Irida, like Trekking Shoes. All those cards have had a huge impact on the competitive play, on the competitive scene, and that makes opening up a booster pack much better because if you pull a Trekking Shoes, that brings down that cost of the booster pack because of the added value that you pull just by pulling that Trekking Shoes, which is great. Hisuian Decidueye came out of nowhere, really surprised a lot of people in the Worlds deck. Origin Form Dialga, Palkia being one of the most competitive cards we've ever seen printed, right along there with Arceus V-Star. Astral Radiance, a very, very good set. Pokemon Go, meh. Okay, Pokemon Go is okay. We got Radiant Charizard. You got this cool Mewtwo alternate art. I do enjoy Pokemon Go, but there's a lot left to be desired, a lot more that they could have done with it. This is kind of where I got to a point where I was like, is Pokemon just printing to print right now? This set should have came out like 5 years ago. Lunatone and Solrock shook up the competitive game a little bit, so I put Lunatone in there. Ditto, the first peelable card. Obviously, that made an impact on a lot of things. That was a really cool gimmick that they did. And then Pokestop is the only real stadium card, trainer card that we have from Pokemon Go that made an impact in any sort of way on the competitive scene. Lost Origin, a really, really good set, especially because of the trainer gallery. I wanted to put just every trainer gallery card in here, but I didn't have enough room. So I just put Pikachu VMAX, and then the front half of the trainer gallery, the Charizard and the Chandelure because it's my favorite, Charizard because obviously it's another Charizard, and then the Pikachu VMAX, really big, but really the entire trainer gallery from Lost Origin is phenomenal. You also had some ancillary cards from Lost Origin like Sableye, like Comfey, like Cramorant. Those made an impact on the competitive scene, bringing back Lost Zone, which is a really cool gimmick. Lost Origin, a really, really good set, really strong set. Kyurem VMAX paired up with that Palkia V-Star has done wonders for the competitive scene. Drapion V, a really good counter that kind of entered the scene that really spiced things up a little bit. Giratina V-Star, another card, another deck that really helped things out. And Hisuian Gudra, one Peoria Regionals hit and Lost Origin became legal. There was just so much from Lost Origin that was able to impact the meta for competitive play that made Lost Origin a really, really fun set to be able to open because there's a lot of cards that you can pull that would have value either in your collection or in the competitive space, which I think is super important. Then you have the alternate arts in Lost Origin, and I think Lost Origin, 4 alternate arts that just hit. Rotom V, the Giratina V are the 2 that I put up here, but obviously the Aerodactyl is really good, and you can make an excuse or a space for the Persiker art to also be really, really good as well. Finally, the last set, Silver Tempest. There's just I want to like Silver Tempest. I do want to enjoy Silver Tempest, and I think that it is fun to open, but not nearly as fun as what I had hoped for. The Lugia alternate art is really, really cool. I really like that card. I really like the Unknown. I think those two cards are fantastic. The Regidrago, a little dark. It's okay. And the Skuntank, just not my favorite Pokemon, not for me necessarily. But outside of the alternate arts in the set, the Lugia V-Star, obviously huge in the competitive scene. It was played like absolute crazy last week in Brazil, and I expect it to be played like crazy in Toronto this weekend. But outside of Lugia V-Star, there's a lot left to be desired. There's some cool full art supporters in the set, like Serena, like Caitlyn, even like Lance. But if you look at some of the other cards in here, we talk about those ancillary cards making up a set. Archeops is pretty good. But outside of that, there's just not a whole lot in Silver Tempest. So the last main series set that came out left a lot to be desired, in my own personal opinion. We'll see what Crown Zenith does as the last actual set of the Sword and Shield block. But overall, here are my rankings right here. So we've got the S tier at top. I put Evolving Skies up there because I just don't think it's ever going to be replicated. Just the amount of alternate arts in there. There's a lot of competitive play that factors into this, but outside of that, you have to understand the collectability, the popularity, the supply, the demand, the amount of demand that overtakes where you can't even print enough product in order to hit that demand. Evolving Skies just takes the cake all over the place. So I put Evolving Skies kind of in a tier of its own. When it comes to A tiers, I did put Astral Radiance up there because I do think that it has a wonderful, wonderful space in the format. What it was able to bring from a collectability standpoint with the trainer gallery, with the alternate arts in there that are wonderful, with a lot of the staple cards that are in there from a competitive standpoint, I think are fantastic. Same thing with Lost Origin, brought a lot to the space. So in the A tier, I've got Astral Radiance, Lost Origin, and Celebrations, just for what it did to the hobby. Celebrations also, when you talk about set size and the amount of cards in that set that impacted the competitive format at some point in time, Celebrations is definitely going to be up there. Probably one of the sets that has the highest percentage of cards that have made a huge impact on the competitive format. So that's my A tier. From my B tier, I've got Brilliant Stars, Pokemon Go, Fusion Strike, Chilling Reign, and Sword and Shield base. Pokemon Go, I went back and forth on. I think Pokemon Go with the Radiant Charizard, really cool. Some cool alternate arts in there. Not a bad set, but it might be a little bit high there as a B spot. But outside of that, Fusion Strike, still a good set. Brilliant Stars, a good set. Might be a little higher for Brilliant Stars, but I think I felt good with the B spot there. Chilling Reign, kind of the same thing. Sword and Shield did a lot. You might be able to argue for that being a little bit higher, but I think this is a good ranking right here. When we go to the C list, the C tier, Battle Style, Silver Tempest, Vivid Voltage, and Rebel Clash, just not a whole lot that combines all of my requirements together from a competitive standpoint and a collectability standpoint. There was only a little bit in Battle Styles, a little bit in Silver Tempest, a little bit in Vivid Voltage, and a little bit in Rebel Clash that kind of maybe half checked some of those boxes. And then the D tier, the last tier, Champion's Path and Shining Fates were just misses for me. Darkness Ablaze, I guess I didn't make an F tier, but if I would have made an F tier, I would have put Darkness Ablaze in there. It's just not my favorite set. So this is this is the correct rankings, but I'm eager to know what you think I did wrong, what you would change with this list. And I think that I wanted to keep at least somewhat close to the same amount of sets in each tier spot. So might be able to move one up to the A tier. Maybe you put Brilliant Stars up there or something like that. And then you've got four. And then you've got four in each section. So you let me know what you think in the comments section down below. But thank you for taking the time to watch the video. Thanks for being a part of the community, guys. Thanks for being a part of this channel. I really appreciate you guys so much. We'll be back tomorrow with some Crown Zenith content. Until then, hopefully I can talk a lot better. I've been like cutting because I've been coughing like crazy. Oh, I cannot wait to kick this illness. Guys, I will talk to you soon. Until then, peace.